Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, County Council approves MCPS budget and union contracts. What will that mean for county taxpayers in the future? County speed cameras generate $16 million in revenue. Did your wallet get hit? Baltimore city government shut down by ransomware attack for the second straight week. How vulnerable is Montgomery County? And a video of a female police officer using a racial slur goes viral. But does 5 seconds tell the whole story? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the former mayor of Rockville, Susan Hoffmann, president of the Chevy Chase Women's Republican Club, Laurie Halverson, past president of the Montgomery County Young Republicans, Dan McHugh, and education activist, Cynthia Rubenstein. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. The Montgomery County Council approved a modified union contract for county workers after rejecting an initial agreement negotiated by County Executive Mark Elrich. Susan, the council and the unions agreed to a 2.25% general wage adjustment and a 3.5% step increase for all workers. These increases are baked into the 2020 budget, but what are the budget implications after that?
Well, they're going to have to go back to the bargaining table and basically start from that point. It's not clear if they're going to add on to it. I think there's no real indication what they will do, but I think it's important to realize that the county council has kind of laid down the gauntlet. They're not going to necessarily just go with what the county executive Mark Elrich has dictated.
That was a very positive outcome, rejecting the initial negotiation. But these are fairly significant increases, and I don't think there's the revenue side to justify. So what will happen after 2020 when these increases really take effect?
Well, the council wants to really look at this, and if it is unaffordable, they're not going to approve it.
I think they're kind of baked in, aren't they?
Not for increments past this year, past 2020. They're not baked in.
Have you ever seen a government contract go backwards? I don't think it'll happen.
Well,
the other wrinkle to this is that, and the concern I think the county council had was that looking ahead, there's a teachers union contract that will need to be negotiated, and they wanted to make sure that this year they tempered these contracts with the other county employees because they're looking towards the teachers and the negotiations that are going to have to take place, and that they will have to say yes on, and I think it's next year.
All right, well, we don't know what the council's going to do, but certainly it's something to watch because I think everyone is waiting for the big tax increase to occur. And so we'll just hold our breath till next year, I guess. Laurie, the past 6 months has demonstrated that leadership levels at MCPS is woefully lacking. Yet the council fully funded the MCPS budget, and not only that, they added another $16 million above what was requested. But is there anyone, whether it's the school board or the county council, is there anyone questioning the performance of the MCPS superintendent?
Yeah, if you look at the indicators, less than 1/3 of our students who took Algebra 1 did not pass in 2018. That is a huge red flag. And there are other indicators that are also worse. And this was worse than the year before. So we're not holding our school system accountable, we're not holding the superintendent accountable, and we vote for our Board of Ed members, and they are holding our superintendent accountable. They're supposed to be, but are they? I don't think so. So I think we as voters should vote people who we know are saying in their platforms that they will hold the superintendent accountable and use measurements and really hold them to the fire on improving academic achievement.
But Cynthia, is that even possible? I mean, if one of the candidates running for the school board has the approval of the Apple ballot, they get voted in. The school board has become a rubber stamp for MCPS.
I disagree with the rubber stamp. Although the Apple ballot is all powerful, It's very rare that a school board candidate gets elected without the endorsement of the Apple ballot. I will say that when you talk about the issues in the school system as far as achievement and opportunity for students, Montgomery County school population has changed markedly in the last 10, 15 years. We have now become a majority minority school district. We have lots of students who are learning English. We have more students who are coming from low income families. Those are all challenges in order to keep the achievement at a high level. And that is something that this school budget is geared to address, giving extra resources to help build up these students who face those challenges.
Susan, it's very important that we maintain the quality of the schools. Otherwise, businesses won't want to relocate here. They won't think we have an educated workforce. And the fact of the matter is, the commercial development in Montgomery County is lacking.
Yeah.
There's a plethora of commercial businesses. So is it just possible to fix this by throwing money at the problem?
First of all, you're absolutely right about the status of our schools. That is an economic development issue. People come to Montgomery County. Businesses come, people come to live here, and they choose where they're going to live by bring their business here because of the good schools for their children and for the children of their workforce. So ignoring the very best possible education that we can provide to our young people is a very significant mistake. And I agree with you 100%, which is rare, and but I do. And we mustn't ever skimp on what it takes to provide the best possible education for that reason.
Well, there's more than money at issue with the school system. And Dan, I want to talk to you about the other big issue dealing with MCPS, which was Casey Krause, the now former principal at Damascus High School, who was at the center of the maelstrom that occurred in the aftermath of the alleged rape attacks by members of the JV football team, was given a job in the MCPS school central office and allowed to keep a current salary of over $160,000 a year. Is this an example of failing upward?
Yes, it's par for the course with Dr. Smith's leadership, whether it was his handling of grade inflation, which we had recently because of the new lower standards, handling increase in sexual harassment at Montgomery County Public Schools, or his handling of the Rockville rape case. This Damascus scandal is another long list of failed leadership by Dr. Smith. You know, this man was given a $15,000 pay increase in 2017. They increased our property taxes in 2016 in Montgomery County for the public schools. We're not getting our money's worth at the top level at Montgomery County Public Schools, if you ask me at all.
You know, I remember in years gone by when the school superintendent was getting pilloried by the county council and the county executive for not performing. So this just seems to me to be gross negligence on the part of the county council. I don't understand it.
Well, absolutely, and you know, the county council, they've supported policies in our schools. Why they lowered the standards in 2016, why they got rid of final exams and put in a new grading system to make it easier to pass, and then they caved to the teachers union to increase our property taxes 8.7% while they lowered the standards of education. That's outrageous. That's ripping the taxpayers off.
Well, I think we should demand better from our county council, who seems to like to preen. I mean, this week alone, every single council member issued their own personal statement on the budget. I mean, my goodness, you know, let's stop preening before the cameras and let's get some work done. Cynthia, let's go on to our next topic. Byron Johns, chairman of the Montgomery County chapter of the NAACP, asserted on Thursday, the 65th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education decision, that there is de facto segregation in Montgomery County schools. How big a problem is this in a county which was officially desegregated in 1961 and where school vice president Pat O'Neill, who's been on the board longer than I've been doing this show, claims the county has legitimately made an effort to desegregate the schools?
There has been effort to desegregate schools, but there are housing patterns and there is development policy that exacerbates the desegregation. I also want to point up not ancient history, but in MCPS history, there was a proposal for a down county consortium of high schools. And there was a proposal to include Bethesda Chevy Chase High School as part of this consortium. Parents went absolutely apoplectic and made sure that BCC was not going to be included with those other schools, with those other kids. The kids who go to Kennedy, the kids who go to Blair, the kids who go to Einstein, the kids who go to Northwood. And so fear of the other and segregationist attitudes are still alive and well in Montgomery County.
Well, when you deal with school boundary relocations, that is almost the third rail. It is a very
and students
terrible
in
thing.
Montgomery County are pushing back with this boundary study, and at the town hall meetings that have been held, it's the students who are pushing the envelope on this.
Well, that's very interesting. Before we run out of time, Susan, a report by the National Low Income Housing Coalition concluded that Montgomery County has a growing problem providing affordable housing. As mayor of Rockville, I'm sure you had to deal with this issue.
I absolutely did, and in fact, it was probably the primary reason why I was not reelected. I was supporting a affordable housing project that was right in the town center area, which was the perfect spot for it, and it was going to rejuvenate an area that was slightly run down and bring it back to really the best conditions. And
why is there so much opposition to building affordable housing?
People talk about how they want to see more affordable housing, except when it's right next door, and then they don't. And that was the issue. There were a lot of people in Rockville who said, not in my backyard.
You know, I know a developer who develops workforce housing in resort areas, because in resort areas, there's a lack of housing that is affordable and quality for the workers. Some people in the Colorado mountains have to drive 100 miles a day over mountainous terrain. So there are innovative programs. I don't know why the county and the county council doesn't look at something outside the box.
Well, when you have a development, you are required to build 15% of your housing as affordable, and if you want more density, you have to provide more housing, more affordable housing. So that's one way to deal with it, but the community has to be supportive, and they often are not.
Well, that's a shame, because we definitely need more. We need more housing generally, but more affordable housing certainly. All right, Laurie, speed cameras in Montgomery County, they produced $16 million of revenue in 1918. That's how old I am. 2018. Does it come as a surprise that the Commonwealth of Virginia, they don't have any speed cameras? Is this why Virginia is better at attracting business than Maryland?
I don't know if you want to look at it that way, really, but I will say that I think Virginia has a better formula overall. Montgomery County, we have speed cameras, and I think because of that, when we're stuck in traffic, we like to put our foot on the pedal and speed when there's no traffic. And so because we have so much bad traffic in our area, Virginia doesn't, we get more, we speed more. And we don't have problems with, we have the, we're not as business friendly as Virginia.
Well,
and so just the overall
knock on
formula, I think.
It was kind of a cheap shop. Go ahead about.
I just want to make a comment that speed cameras really work. I have had only 2 speeding tickets in the last 7 years, and I have modified my behavior.
Yeah, all right.
It's another tax.
So when I was in the coalition for against regressive taxation, the slogan was, "If it moves, government will tax it." When we come back from this short break, as Baltimore struggles for a second straight week, how vulnerable is Montgomery County to a ransomware attack? And does a 5-second video of a female police officer using a racial slur tell the whole story? Stay tuned. And welcome back. On the same day last week that Bernard Jack Young was sworn in as mayor of Baltimore, the city's computer system suffered a massive ransomware attack targeted at the city's financial system, which effectively shut down all real estate sales, tax payments, collection of water bills. Welcome to the office, Mayor Young. Mayor Young refuses to pay the 13 Bitcoin ransom, roughly $104,000, demanded by the attackers. Dan, what would you do if you were Mayor Young?
Well, first of all, Casey, I would offer these cyber terrorists $104,000 worth of Healthy Holly books to see if that. But seriously, I mean, what I would do if I was Mayor Young, I would work with the FBI, I would work with the State Department, and of course the federal government, basically, to find out who these individuals are and make them and prosecute them to the full extent of the law. Also, I would take that $104,000 and invest it into Baltimore City's IT infrastructure, improving its IT infrastructure grid.
Would you pay it?
No, you're not. No, I would not back down to. You don't answer. We don't negotiate with terrorists. These are cyber terrorists,
All right, so
and Mayor Young
let
should not
me give you an
negotiate
example.
with these cyber terrorists.
All right, Cynthia, I'll go down to you. Cynthia, this was the second attack in Baltimore in a year. When the 9/11 system was attacked last year, does anyone know how vulnerable Montgomery County is?
No, we absolutely do not. We have a Department of Technology Services, and we have a new county executive, and we have new people in place, and I'm sure they noticed what's happened in Baltimore.
All right, well, we're going to have to close this early, but I will just say there was a report on 60 Minutes about 2 weeks ago about these cyber terrorists attacking hospitals and city governments. And one small town in Alabama decided to fight them. They wouldn't pay the 50 grand. Instead, they paid $5 million, and it took almost a year to restore their system. All right, this is a really difficult story to talk about because there's a lot of issues here and there's a lot of passionate issues here. Last week, a 5-second video of a female Montgomery County police officer using a racial slur while talking with 3 suspects detained by police went viral on the internet. Now the county council and civic activists are alleging racial profiling by Montgomery County police and demanding other actions be taken against the police officer. Susan, there are a lot of issues involved here in this incident, but let's start with the first one, which deals with whether or not there is underlying racial profiling issues by police in Montgomery County.
Well, there's sort of 2 issues here. First of all, as far as what the officer did and what the officer said, I don't care what the provocation was, police officers are never to use that kind of language. So that's it. As far as the profiling, there are charges that there's profiling at that location, at that McDonald's in White Oak, and that there's some sort of understanding with the management of that business and the police, and that needs to be investigated, because if the police were not called and they just showed up, it sounds like there may have been some profiling. But we don't know enough at this time to make a judgment, and it wouldn't be fair to cast aspersions. I have great respect for Montgomery County Police.
But here's the difficulty, and I want to put it in realistic terms. Businesses have a problem, and they have a problem staying open if they are one of the targets of repeated thefts at their location.
Okay, that wasn't a theft.
And then
this
the police,
loitering.
but the police have a duty to protect the businesses and the citizens of Montgomery County.
Absolutely.
Can't they be proactive in their efforts?
Well, the issue is loitering is not the same as theft. So you brought that in.
I understand that.
And being outside of the building, we don't know enough. We don't know what they did. We don't know if they were harassing people who came in to buy a hamburger. We don't know enough. And I think it's premature to make any kind of decision.
I want to pivot to Laurie on this, because let's talk about the actions of the police officer. And as Susan said, no question the offending officer should not have said what she did. And even if she was only repeating what one of the detained suspects said, and as the police officer claims. However, does the fact that the police officer, and when you watch the 12-minute video, these suspects were saying very profane and vile things to this female officer. And does that change the perception of the incident at all?
Well, first of all, I want to say that there's no excuse for saying the N-word. An officer should not be doing that, even if it was just repeated. So I'm glad there is an investigation on that issue. However, I did watch the body cam video, and I was disturbed also by what I heard from the suspect, who was sexually harassing the female officer. That is against the law, and you're not reading anything about that. She was sexually harassed, and I don't know what's going on in today's world, but from when I grew up, I knew never to say anything back, regardless if it was, profane language or anything. You just don't talk back to an officer. I would have put him in jail for overnight. If he deserves to be in jail for overnight for what he said.
Well, he might have been charged. I don't know what the charging documents were. But this is a troubling incident because this is a highly high on the radar of the county council. And the performance of the police department has always been taken here in Montgomery County as a given that it was above reproach. So I certainly hope that the council does a reasonable job in doing this and not just cast aspersions on the police department, because I think that type of attack only harms the morale and the performance of the police officers involved. We got to go to break. I'm sorry, we're running a little long. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break. And welcome back now with parting shots. Laurie.
Yes, well, yesterday I heard some interesting information about the College Board and what they're doing with the SATs. They're adding an adversity score to their SATs, and they're getting involved in social engineering again. They should be focusing on academic performance and not on social engineering. They're losing sight of their goals and what they're supposed to be doing.
Thank you, Laurie. Susan Hoffmann, your parting shot.
So in light of what occurred in the Alabama State House, who would have thought that Alabama Crimson Tide would bring to mind not only athletics in that state, but also the Crimson Cape in Handmaid's Tale?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen Handmaid's Tale, I'm sorry. Cynthia Rubenstein, your parting shot.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the education theme. Today was a great day for Montgomery College. 3,000 students graduated, including 14 high school students who are not only earning their high school diplomas, but also earned associate's degrees today. So congratulations, all you Raptors, class of 2019.
Thank you, Cynthia. Dan McHugh, your parting shot.
Casey, my parting shot is of County Executive Mark Elrich, who this week wanted to cut Montgomery County ride-on bus services. County Executive Elrich, the bus rapid transit, $1 billion bus system is not the solution to our county's traffic problems. It is time to get on board with Governor Hogan and widen I-270 and widen the Beltway. The fact that you are conceding that people aren't riding the bus in the county, that you wanted to cut bus services, the BRT is not the answer, sir.
Good one.
Thank you, Dan. You know, one of the interesting things, and I think Susan brought this up when we were talking about the issue of affordable housing, is how the community doesn't seem to be working together to solve common problems that we need to resolve on behalf of all the citizens of Montgomery County and those in our surrounding area. Traffic is another one, Dan, that needs to be improved upon and get some unanimity. I mean, we will be strangling on our roadways if we don't have road improvements, but we also need mass transit to address the issues of people that can't afford a car or don't want to have a car. So I think we all behooves us, and those who watch this program are very civic minded and civic active, that we try to reach some compromise on some of these issues. Now, the last issue I want to talk about is the Nationals. They've been woeful this season, but I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that Anthony Rendon has returned to the lineup, and Trey Turner comes back this week, and we're going to beat the Cubs in this 3-game series, and we're going to go on to sweep the NL East and beat the Mets, who are Phil Bell's favorite team. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I know it's been interesting topics. We had some good discussions. Tune in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show for 21 this week. I'm Casey Aiken.